After that whole experience in Coyote Pass, I want to set him free.
How are you going to do that?
I go and apologize.
He wants to extend an olive branch. I need to know what the motive is.
So Janelle getting a new man.
How are you? Ron is in town, and I can't help but smile. Sorry. So I met Ron at a speed dating event.
I am so happy right now, Ron.
I love that. This is my journey. My hope is for them to receive it well.
Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. Yesterday, I let you know that Kody Brown is a joke of a father and he doesn't reach out to his children. And I told you that it was Leon Brown, Kody's child with Mary, that broke their social media silence to call him out. What I didn't tell you is that Leon was responding to Kody's own behavior and his very public interview on the Viall Files Special Forces reunion. I had a chance to watch through this reunion and I was shocked because Kody completely took over the reunion. In fact, he spent almost the entire time talking with very few people getting a chance to have a word in edgewise. And there was quite a bit of time spent with Kody about his lack of a relationship with his kids. Specifically, there were questions about Kody taking responsibility on the show and then coming home and everything changing. There was a back and forth between Kody and Natalie. Natalie is the co-host with Nick and happens to also be Nick's wife, where she was confronting Kody about the fact that he was claiming that he was reaching out, but he wasn't, and she was sharing her own experience. But there was a lot that happened in this interview that I can see why his kids got so angry. Here's a couple clips, including Kody lying about the money that he owed the wives, claiming that they all made more money than him, which is not true. And that's why he didn't pay alimony. And then also, there was so many lies. But he also said that Janelle got a spiritual release. So apparently that happened too. Check out these few clips.
Went and got the divorce through the church, but there was no legal marriage. So, and they all made more money than me. So there was no alimony to be paid.
Okay. You kind of said in your interrogation that you were offended by your children. Do you feel like your kids owe you anything?
This isn't a venue because it is so nuanced. This isn't a venue where I'd prefer to talk about that. It's that I believe that I need to make or heal things with my children. And I believed that healing things with their mothers first would work better. But I've been in touch with them, or I reach out to them often. Those who are not reaching back, the responsibility for a relationship is on two people, especially when you're adults. Almost all of my children were adults when the divorces happened. So they were already grown out of the house into their own families.
What really bothers me about the way that Kody treats people is how he obviously treated Natalie versus how he responded to Nick. When she asks about and asks a follow-up question about reaching out, trying to clarify what he means by that, because he's the one that's answering the question, he tries to shut her down and says it's not the proper venue. And then instead of stopping to talk about it and saying, I'm done, I'm not going to speak about it, he keeps going and he adds like all these other layers and these caveats, right? So he's like, I don't want to talk about me not reaching out because it's too nuanced. It's not the proper venue for this. And yet he keeps talking about it. And I think what really gets under my skin here is, if I'm being honest, he says almost all of my children were adults when the divorces happened. That doesn't excuse the fact that he doesn't have a relationship with his minor child. It doesn't. Even if all of his other kids were adults, what about Truly? What about the fact that you have a daughter that lives in Utah that you have no relationship with? What about the daughter that you have that's a minor that lives in Utah that was not an adult when this happened? What about the child that was like 11 years old, 11 or 10 when this happened. She was a child. She wasn't even almost an adult. She was an adolescent child. Nothing about that. Nothing. And mind you, Savannah was also not an adult when they split. When all of the stuff was happening with Kody and Janelle, and he was separating from them, and he wasn't speaking to them and wasn't seeing them, Savannah was in high school. She was not even almost an adult. She was a child. It's like he puts this caveat out there and ignores the children that were minors. And some of the way I think some of the adult kids view it, especially I know McKelty, is she's angry at him because of what he's doing to Truly. It's horrible. But then also he says that, Janelle gets a spiritual release and he just sort of drops that. Like, we didn't know that. Okay, I guess the spiritual release actually happens. There's a lot more here, though. Kody also was asked questions about like the impact of reality television, and he spoke about in length about how reality television can create conflicts in relationships, like in families, because they will pit people against each other, or they are looking for the drama or the rub. And he was speaking about, how it impacted his relationships with his wives, also how it forced him to like have to take accountability, but he would be told to take accountability, he claimed, for things that he didn't do. And he also admitted that he's not a grounded person, so therefore he can't take accountability.
Said, she said, and it's hard to feel accountable. Like I can look at my hands and go, okay, here are the 10 things I'm accountable for. But that one you're trying to put on me isn't mine to own. And you kind of get in this place where you have to be super grounded. And I'm not. You guys all saw me lose my head, flapping like a chicken. So it's a challenge to be in reality TV. I like to retire my wife, Robin, from television so they can't pit us against each other now.
How's that going?
We're solid.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys knew, I probably talked about her all the time. So anybody that was hanging out with me, it was like, I like to talk about my wife, who is shy, doesn't want me talking about her, but, favorite person in the world. You can't come out of 3 divorces and not struggle a little bit with some kind of mental illness, I think.
What I thought was really bizarre about this is he was talking about reality television and how, you hear the criticism and you hear what your kids are saying and you hear what your wives are saying and you don't want to own these things and whatever. And then he goes into this thing about how he wants to retire his wife, Robin, from reality television, as though it's his choice about her not appearing on reality TV, as though he gets to decide if his 47-year-old wife is not going to work anymore. I feel like that's kind of what this whole going on special forces thing is about. He's trying to get into another career away from Sister Wives so that he can do the work and not have to talk about Robin and not have to have their relationship exposed. And he says that it's the reality television that causes the conflict in their relationships because you hear the criticism, and sometimes you hear the criticism of your spouse, and the producers are pitting you against each other. And I don't disagree that the producers are going to exploit drama or that they're going to exploit, whatever is going on in their lives, but they can only exploit what you give to them. They're only going to exploit what you're putting out. If you're not sharing it with them, and if you're not willing to share it, there's nothing to exploit. But it's obvious that Robin and Kody's relationship isn't what it seems. And instead of acknowledging that it's not that, it's, I'm just going to retire her. But like what? Okay, apparently Robin has no agency and doesn't get to decide herself, right? And he also spent quite a bit of time blaming mental illness that apparently he's not even diagnosed with. At one point, he discussed all these supplements that he has and how he lied to the producers about how he needed all of these supplements. And he had to bring all of these supplements with him, which included different supplements to manage ADHD that he decides that he has. But he says, I've never been diagnosed with. And so in order to deal with his ADHD, he's taking things like caffeine, and he's taking things like Nutrafol, I don't even know what that is, and vitamin D. And telling them he needs this to treat his ADHD that he isn't even diagnosed with. And I actually find this really dangerous because I am someone that has ADHD, and I know firsthand that if you put out information about what you think is going to help ADHD, it could influence someone that that's what they should do. And I don't think Kody has any say or right to tell people how they should treat their ADHD, and even suggest that he has it without a formal diagnosis. He doesn't have a diagnosis of ADHD. He can think he has it, but until he has a diagnosis, he doesn't have a diagnosis. And using caffeine, I can tell you with facts, isn't a long-term solution, and it doesn't help, nor do some of these supplements that he claims. But that also doesn't explain, like, I feel like he's trying to use his ADHD as like, well, my problem with my verbal impulsivity is my ADHD. Well, if you know it's a problem and you know you're having a problem with verbal impulsivity, which is common in ADHD when it's not treated, then go to a doctor and get the medications you need, because I'll tell you firsthand, once you get on medication to treat ADHD, at least for me, the verbal impulsivity goes away. But I don't think he really wants to treat it. That's just me. And again, you don't get to decide if you're going to retire your wife. And then Kody, is further pushed about the issues with his children and
Thank you.
If I can give you any advice from someone who has not a great relationship with her father, don't stop reaching out. Don't stop showing them that you care and that you want to be a part of their lives. Even if they don't respond, keep calling, keep texting.
I always tell him that I love them. I always reach out. Talk to me when you feel like you can. And when they, sometimes it's very kind and sometimes it's not. And then you have that experience where I've got 5 children right here, right next to me, and they're very engaging. And so there's a tendency for me to put a lot of effort where it's effective. And so when I reach out, I make the effort, and a relationship requires 2 people. And I'm to a point now, it's like when they got to unload something that feels like it's cruel, you just sit through it. You just take it. I find myself very often being motivated to apologize for things that I don't feel like I should own. And so it's a debate there as well. And you don't want to invalidate that. You want to accept it and then think about it. And the process is not easy because it's very painful.
I can imagine.
There are those who are just not causing any pain. And sometimes it just has to do with the relationship itself.
This is the part of the podcast that this exchange is what Leon was responding to, right? So Natalie starts her part with him and just says I don't have a good relationship with my dad, and it's your job to reach out and show them that you love them. And I understand why Leon and even Audrey, who left a comment and said this is verifiably untrue about that he reaches out, because they clipped it and put it into a reel or a TikTok short. And when Kody speaks about his kids, he speaks about them all, right? And if Leon knows for a fact that he's not reaching out, right? And if Leon knows for a fact that he's not trying, they are obviously going to be angry by that. I see why they would be upset. Mykelti spoke about this even on her own podcast, and she said it's probably true that Kody hasn't reached out to Leon, and it's also probably true that that relationship isn't working. He is reaching out to some of us. She said that he reached out to her, but she told Kody, Mykelti did, that she can't communicate with him. She doesn't want to have a relationship with him. She doesn't have the capacity to do that right now. And she loved him, but she needs space and she doesn't want to deal with him. And what Mykelti said on her Patreon just last night was that it was what I said yesterday in my video, was that reaching out is only the tip of the iceberg, right? There are years and years and years of neglect and abuse and heartache and pain that cannot just be erased by a single phone call of I'm going to do better. It would have to be a consistent relationship and a consistent willingness on Kody's part to actually take accountability and to change. And he doesn't care to change. And there's nothing that can help them get past what he's done. I mean, one thing that Mykelti is still to this day heartbroken about with her dad is that when Truly was very, very ill and almost died from kidney failure, he made her and Aspen manage that on their own, and he wasn't there for them. And then that placed Truly in a very dangerous situation. And it's that Kody doesn't show up. He doesn't care to show up, and he just stays wherever it's easy. And he says in this clip that I have 5 kids right here that love me. And so why would I spend my time and my energy going out there where there's kids that don't love me? These 5 kids here engage me. Engage me. Engage me. That was another issue that McKelty was talking about on her Patreon last night too. She said, my dad thinks that the only way to have a relationship with him is for us to come into his world and do whatever he wants to do. And that's the only way that we can have a relationship with him is if we are doing something for him or we are doing an activity he wants to do. He doesn't care to spend time with us and get to know us. We have to get to know him. And she said that she had a conversation with her dad about that and said, like, it's not about us engaging you. You need to get into our world and get to know us. And Tony made the point of saying that Robin telling Kody that if it's of value of you to have a relationship with these kids, go do it. But it's the value proposition that's the issue. And Tony had issue with Robin about that and said that she's letting him know that if it's not of value, don't do anything. Because value is how Kody views relationships. If you're not of value, then don't try. And Kody doesn't value relationships where he has to be held accountable or if he doesn't enjoy it. And Tony even said that there's multiple kids that Kody doesn't enjoy even spending time with, doesn't even want to know. And Kody says, well, they're conspiring against me. No, they're not. At one point, he then says he has a great relationship with 3 kids, 3 daughters. And this part just infuriates me.
Just to challenge you a little bit, it's not your children's job to keep the relationship. It is your job, being the father. I'm always the one who has to reach out to my dad.
Oh,
and I don't want to be.
No, I'm the one that
No,
is
I know,
reaching out.
but because you're saying that like a relationship takes 2 people.
No, but I am reaching out. That is my point, that I am reaching out.
What is so frustrating to listen to in this interview is Nick and Natalie don't know his backstory really. So they don't know that he actually has a minor child that's involved in this situation that he's not engaging with. In this interview, he admits that he doesn't like to reach out because he has an ego. He doesn't like to take accountability for the pain that he's caused. And he says, I have a great relationship with 3 daughters. And those 3 daughters, and I didn't show you that clip, but he does say that. So just be clear, he does say that. Those 3 daughters are Ariella, Brianna, and Aurora. That's it. I have a great relationship with the 3 daughters that live in my house. Ariella is a minor child. He also has a minor child that lives in Utah. And they don't know that. Like these 2 that are interviewing him don't realize that he has a minor child that he's ignoring, that he has no relationship with. They believe that he's talking about only adult children. I wonder how they would feel if they knew that there's a little girl in this situation. She's 15 now, but she was 10 years old when this split happened. And not only that, but she was born on the show and he has ignored her whole life. And he has favored his other children with Robin over everyone else. And he makes clear that these are the favorites because they engage him. They add value to him. The crash out of Kody and his parenting and the things that he is saying publicly, he thinks it's like gonna fix his reputation, and it's only making it worse. Only making it worse. There's a minor child that lives in Utah, right? That doesn't see her dad because Kody doesn't care to have a relationship with her. And he says, I have a great relationship with 3 daughters. What about that little girl in Utah? It's horrible. And it's no wonder that some of his kids want nothing to do with him. In fact, 13 of the kids want nothing to do with him. And mind you, only 2 of those kids that he says of the 5 are his biological children. The others are adopted, that he adopted when they were children. Like Dayton was 14, right? Aurora was like 11. Brianna was like 9. He threw away all of his other kids to adopt 3 kids that would worship him. And that's why it's unbelievable, honestly, to watch this play out. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.